This podcast is on citation styles for literature reviews. In particular, we're going to use the APSA, or American Political Science Association, style guidelines for our in-text citations and bibliographic references. This will be a relatively short podcast. In terms of in-text citations, if the article that we're trying to cite within our text has one author only, then we simply use the author's last name and the year, no need for a comma in between, and we put those two in parenthetical statements. So survey evidence does suggest that legislative party leaders in states with term limits have less influence than legislative leaders in non-term limited states, COSER 2005. Now, if we're citing a particular page number, because we want to make a specific reference to a point that an author is making, we include those page numbers, number or numbers, in the citation itself. Since the Congress represents an ideal type, it provides an absolute basis for standardization in determining how professionalized each state legislature really is in comparison. Squire 1992, 70 to 71. So we're citing 2 pages of Squire's 1992 article. Another way to do this in text is if it's in the beginning or middle of a sentence. Squire's 2007 professionalism score ranges from 0.027 to 0.626, with higher numbers indicating that a legislature was more professionalized. If we have 2 authors, we use the first author's last name and second author's last name, and then the year. In these cases, legislators rely more on party resources and less on their personal reputation to continue their political careers. Farmer and Little, 2004. We do the same thing. First author's last name and second author's last name and page number if we want to get very specific. Furthermore, party leaders can reward term-limited legislators who resign midterm with appointments to vacant seats in other offices. Farmer and Little, 2004, 6. So that's page 6 of the Farmer and Little article. And in text citation, in sentence citation, we just simply use the year and the 2 authors' name. Abbey and Herndson, 2003, demonstrate that candidates who spend more money tend to get more votes. In text citations with 3 authors, we add that last name of the first author, the second author's last name, and the third author's last name, and then the year. So that Carey, Nemi, and Pell article that we were looking at in the previous podcast, we'd cite it in the end of a sentence, as in this. These activists argue that term limits would solve this problem because it would force unresponsive legislators to leave office. Carey, Nemi, and Powell, 1998. Again, 3 authors listed, year, and page number if we want to get specific. While all politicians have political ambition, certain characteristics of state legislatures either foster or repress those ambitions. Carey, Nemi, and Powell, 2006, 122. So page 122 of that article. And then in text, in sentence, author, and then just the year in parentheses. Carey, Nemi, and Powell, 2000, argue that since term limits prohibit legislative party leaders from promising future rewards, i.e. committee assignments, they are less able to influence party members during the legislative process. 4 or more authors. We don't list all the authors then. We use the Latin et al. To refer to the other 3 authors. So Moncrief et al. 1992 refers to an article where the lead author is Moncrief, and Moncrief had 4 or more, or 3 or more authors, co-authors. Same thing as with the other author citations that we looked at. If we want a specific year, we put it in a comma after the year. Absent term limits, U.S. state legislators with long-term career goals in politics often achieve that goal by becoming career legislators. Moncrief et al. 1992, 12. Then within the sentence, in addition, Sarbaugh-Thompson et al. 2006 demonstrate that at least in the Michigan state legislature, after term limits, any remaining influence of party members rests with caucus leaders. If you cite a piece within the text, you must cite it at the end in the bibliography. Please make sure to include bibliography as a title at the beginning of that bibliographic section. That's typically the last section of the paper where you list all of the works that you're including in your research piece. Cite the articles in alphabetical order based on the first author's last name. So, Carey, Moncrief, et al. And this is simply a repeat from previous slides on how to cite one author, two authors, and the bibliography itself. Authors' names, year, title in quotations, journal title in italics, volume and issue number, and then page numbers of the articles. Again, this is exactly the same slide that we saw before. And that is the end of the podcast on citations in literature